Game we're playing this week is Deanna's Pick, and it's called Bites. And it's about some ants that are going to be following a trail of food all the way until they get to their ant hill over here. Okay? So the way this works now, um, on your turn, you're going to take one of these ants. Doesn't matter which one. A lot of games, you pick a piece and that represents you. That's not the case in this game. You can take any ant that you want. You notice that there are colors, and each ant represents a certain kind of food. So you've got your purple ant, which represents grapes, your red ant that represents apples, the yellow ant represents cheese, your green ant represents peppers, and the brown ant represents bread. Okay, so this is what I call the Candyland mechanic, because in Candyland you would turn over a card and it would be a color, and you would take your gingerbread man and you would move him to the next color on the track, which looks a lot like this. That's how this works. Take any one of these ants that you want. Let's say I take the green one, and you're going to move them until you get to the first color in the line, and you're going to put them right there. At that point, you have the option of eating either the food that's in front of you, which in this case happens to be a wine drop. It's a drop of wine, or the one behind you, which is an apple. So you would take that piece of food, and now your turn is over. Another person will then go. If at any point you have, let's say, well, just for illustration purposes, because this would never land on a wine. Let's say that the food in front of you or behind you has an ant on it. You can't take that food, but you can move ahead to the next one. So you could take that one or the one behind you. You always have that option. Either one in front or one behind. Okay? Now, these food tokens are going to be worth points at the end of the game. But you don't know how many points they're worth until we get toward the end of the game. And the reason for that is, if you ever have, let me take this purple ant right here, and let's go to this set of grapes. If you ever have a situation where you need to move an ant, and the next purple one, there isn't one, then in that case, you go to the anthill. Okay? Now, there are 4 cards over here. Every game is different because these 4 cards are going to be drawn at random, and they are the rules for kind of changing the game up a little bit. This first one has to do with the anthill. So in this game, it says that, I'm sorry, that's not the anthill. This one is the anthill, the overachiever. And it says when ants get into the anthill, they take the highest available space. So in this case of the purple one, he would go to 4. The next ant that shows up is going to take the 3 spot. And here's how you score then. Since the purple ant is at 4, every cluster of grapes that you happen to have is worth 4 points. Okay? All right, that's how you can figure out what they're worth. Now, there are 2 pieces of food on here that don't match the ants. One of them, as I mentioned, we have this wine drop. Okay. A wine drop is going to be worth a certain number of points at the end of the game, but again, you don't know what they're worth. There is a card over here that will tell you. And for this particular game, we have the collector. And it says that every wine drop is worth a point for each different type of food you have. So if the game is over and I only have 3 kinds of food in front of me, then every wine drop I have is worth 3 points. If I have all 5 of the different kinds of food, then every wine drop is worth 5 points. Now, this card will change from game to game, and so the wine drops will always do something different. The other thing that's different are these pieces of chocolate. Okay, so you don't have any ant that matches it. You can only, so you never can land on it, but you can eat it. What these do is they give you a special ability. You can turn in a piece of chocolate to do the special ability on the chocolate card. So there's a chocolate card here, and this one says it's a doubler. So it says after your turn, take a second food for the ant you just moved. So if I move an ant, say this green one, and I move him here, and I take the wine drop, I'm allowed to take another one. So I could then either take the grapes or I could take the apple. You cannot use the chocolate on the turn that you take it. Right? Let's see. Now, there's normally another card here. It's called a special rule card. For your first game, they say to use this card, which is minimalist, which is no effect at all. So it's as if this card isn't in the game. But there's a whole deck of these special rule cards and a whole deck of all these different kinds of cards. So every time you play the game, you draw one at random, and it will change up the way the game works. Okay, once every ant is in the anthill, the game is over. You add up your points, and whoever has the most wins.